Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing some more speed reviews. I know how much you love these. I love them as well. I really enjoy just the whole process of testing things out on my own and then kind of coming and giving you a review versus just doing a first impression on camera. I have mostly drugstore products here. There are a few things that are a little more high end. For the most part, a lot of it is really affordable. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and start. I have two things from Colourpop that I just wanted to talk about first. So first up is their new Pretty Fresh pressed face powder. So Colourpop actually did send this to me in PR. It's also available at Ulta, so that's kind of why I included it in this video. Everything else that's here I did purchase. This is the only thing that's PR. And they sent me a couple different colors to try. I settled on the shade Light 8, which is a little bit too dark for me, but I felt like so many of the colors in this range were just very, very yellow, and I have more of a pink undertone. So this was kind of the least yellow of the options, which is why I chose it. And this claims to have a light buildable coverage. It's supposed to be skin softening with sunflower seed and cucumber extracts and have a natural finish. It can also be worn alone as a powder foundation or to set makeup and touch up throughout the day. So I actually have been using this as a powder foundation, and it's funny because the older I get, the more I actually am liking powder foundations, and I do have really dry skin, so that's something I never ever thought that I would say. I actually avoid setting powders in general. I never set my face. I really don't feel like I need to because my skin is so dry and always has been. But as I get older, now I'm in my mid-40s, I feel like liquids sometimes can settle into those fine lines that are forming and my pores, and they don't always look the most flattering. Then on the flip side, a powder kind of just sits on top of your skin, kind of floats on top, and it's not like sinking into everything, and it doesn't really settle. So I find that if I have a really moisturized base, like I use really good skincare, I can definitely use a powder foundation and it looks great. I really have been enjoying CoverGirl's powder foundations. As you guys know, I love the Simply Ageless one. I did a whole video on that. Also, their Clean Fresh powder is really, really good too. So I was curious to see how this one stacked up. The first time I used it, I have to say it did sort of accentuate my pores a little bit in this area. It looked a little bit dry on my skin, even though it does claim to be a very hydrating formula. But I felt like that was easily fixed by just using a pore minimizing primer underneath. And I've used a couple different ones now with this, and they all seem to work just fine. So I'm not sure why this one does that, whereas the CoverGirl ones I can wear without primer and I'm fine, but that's just one thing that I noticed with this. So I want to show you guys a quick before and after so you can see kind of what the coverage level's like and what it looks like sitting on my skin. So this is over the pore filling primer. I think when I took this picture, I had used the Milani No Pore Zone primer, and I feel like this has very decent coverage. It minimized my redness quite a bit. My dark spots and under eyes a little bit. You can still definitely see those, but they look a little less. And it overall just has a very soft look on my skin, which I really like. Now, I will say I don't know that I would necessarily repurchase this one again versus the CoverGirl powders because I feel like I don't have to wear those with a primer underneath. So that's the biggest downside of this for me. Another huge downside is the packaging. So this is like the most impossible packaging to open. It doesn't really have like a divot here to put your finger on when you're opening it. So, and it's rounded. So every time I try to open it, my finger that's trying to hold the compact just slips off and I can't get it open. So what I end up having to do is kind of like stick my finger in the crack and then pry it open this way. Definitely not ideal. So that's another thing I really don't like about this powder and would just make me not as likely to reach for this over my CoverGirl ones. I did forget to mention though, it does come with a puff like most powders do. So anyway, that's the Colourpop powder. And then I also had a palette from Colourpop. I could not resist this one. It's the All Amethyst palette. I picked this up at Ulta last weekend when I was there. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. I am a big fan of purples. I'm a really big fan of cool toned eyeshadows, and this was just calling my name. Another thing that I really love about this is the way that it's set up. I think it's not like a super light colored palette and it's not super dark. You have like a row of lighter colors on the top, then you have a row of mid-tones in the middle, and then you have the deeper colors on the bottom. So I just feel like it's very well balanced, and also you have a good mix of shimmer shades and matte shades. I just think it's set up really, really well. And it also swatched beautifully, which made me even more excited for it. I thought it looked really nice and pigmented, and especially that purple shimmer shade right in the middle. Oh my gosh, I could not wait to put that one on my eyes. But then once I actually tried this out, it was a little bit less impressive. I used this pinky lavender shade for my crease color, and it had to be built up so much just to get it to show up. I feel like these shadows for some reason are very like hard pressed into the pan. And then I used this one down here for the outer corner, but it just applied really patchy, which you're gonna see in a second. I know my eyeshadow skills are not the best, but this definitely did not help that situation. And then with this purple on the lid, I felt like it just ended up looking very dull overall, and I wasn't expecting that because I think it swatched really nicely. It had a nice metallic sheen, but I'll show you guys, like when I put it on my eyes, I was just kind of like underwhelmed, I guess, and I even applied a little bit more of it wet, trying to amp it up a little bit, and it still really just didn't look the best. So I was hoping for a lot with this palette, and it sort of fell flat for me, at least the one time that I used it. I'll definitely try it again, but the formula I just felt was kind of difficult to work with, and it could also be just the nature of these colors. I know that purples and some cool tones can be very difficult to formulate and can get sort of patchy and stuff like that, so it could just be that as well. I normally don't have any issues with Colourpop's formula, so this was a bit of a surprise for me, but I could definitely understand if it's just because of these types of colors. Next up, I do have one high-end product that I had to try, and I don't know if it's just me, but I haven't really been buying a lot of high-end products lately, just I think because there's so many new drugstore products coming out this time of year that are just more exciting to me. I've just been buying all the drugstore, but this is one particular high-end product that I really wanted to try, and this is the new Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer. So I just thought this sounded so incredible. The claims on it were that it's supposed to control shine and mattify and also give a blurred airbrush finish. And you guys know how I feel about my L'Oreal Studio Secrets primer, which has now been discontinued, so I'm looking for any alternative that I can find. And I felt like the texture of this was super interesting. It felt sort of like a creamy oil at first. It starts out kind of thick and just really, really hydrating, but then as you work it into your skin, it dries down to like a matte powdery finish, which I totally wasn't expecting. It's not drying per se, it's just not as emollient as it starts out. So it definitely does mattify and control shine like it claims to. And if you've ever tried their other primers, I feel like this is more hydrating than their Veil primer, which also is a white color like this, but it's super, super lightweight and has a powdery finish almost immediately. And then their number 28 primer, which is almost more like an oil. This is sort of in between the two, and I am here for it because I feel like the Veil primer, while I do like it and I can kind of get away with it in the summertime, in the winter and most of the year on my dry skin, it's just not enough hydration, and it does have that really dry feel. And then their number 28 one is just very heavy and oily, and sometimes I find that it can like break apart a foundation that I'm wearing. So even though I have dry skin, that one's almost like overkill, like too much. This is just the perfect happy medium. I really like this formula. And then as far as the blurring and pore smoothing claims, I'll show you guys a quick before and after of my skin up close, and you can definitely see on the before side on the left some pores and texture, and on the right I feel like they are significantly minimized and blurred, and my skin just really looks so much smoother. And this is also very up close and personal, so you can imagine how much smoother my skin actually looks in real life when you're a little bit further away. It has such a nice blurring effect, and I know that there are a lot of pore smoothing primers out there on the market, especially my L'Oreal one, which you can still find if you go to drugstores, and there's a few websites that still carry it. So I've been stocking up. I have like 3 jars of it sitting around. I'm not quite sure how much I want to buy of that though, because who knows how long they'll last and what the shelf life is, but I am still looking for an alternative and something that's going to make my skin that smooth, and this one really does. I've used this now like 4 times under different foundations, and it's just, it settles into your skin so nicely. This is definitely not cheap. It's $56, but if you have some Ulta points, or you know, if you get a 20% off coupon or something, it could definitely be worth a try, especially if they come out with a mini, because I know they do have minis of their other primers, so at some point they probably will do that with this too, and then you could try it before you spend the money on the full size. So yeah, I definitely was pleasantly surprised by this one. I really, really like it. Next up, we have two brand new LA Girl palettes, and I was so excited for these because I love this formula. I think it's one of the better ones at the drugstore, and these retail for $15.99 each. I actually got them on sale. They were $11. I don't know if they're still gonna be at the time you're watching this video, but this is basically their festival collection. They come out with palettes every year, kind of with a festival sort of theme, and we are gonna compare these two to last year's because I did see some similarities. They normally do one that's a little bit more bold and colorful, and then one that's a little bit more neutral. So let's start with the colorful one. This one's called Festy Bestie, and inside you have some beautiful blues and greens on the left, and then on the right you kind of have more like berry tones and oranges. And I think it definitely has a good mix of matte and shimmer and foil shades, and the formula feels really similar to all of their other palettes. It has really smooth mattes that are sometimes not as pigmented as they look in the pan, but you can build them up really easily, and the shimmer shades are soft and creamy. Some of them do have some crumbly fallout though, just keep that in mind, while other ones are more smooth. And I did a look with this palette the other day, so I want to show you guys what that looks like. It was a little bit more on the bold side. I used the light green matte shade in the crease, and then I used a deep blue matte in the outer corner, and I have them kind of labeled on the palette so you can see which ones they are. And then I used like a seafoam blue-green color on my lid, and then white shimmer on just the inner portion of the lid. And the white shimmer was honestly the worst shade to work with. There was so much crumbly fallout. I had it all over my cheeks. It was in my eye at one point. It definitely needs like some sort of a glitter glue or something, or maybe spray it with some setting spray just to kind of tamp that down a little, because it just went everywhere. I mean, it looks really cool and it gives a cool effect on your eyes, just super messy. And then the other palette is Nudie Cutie, and this one has more neutral shades. It's a little bit warmer in tone. You have browns, pinks, golds, and peaches. And the formula feels really similar to the Festy Bestie and all of their other palettes. And I think this is probably the one that I would be most likely to wear more often, since these are great everyday neutral shades. This is the palette that I'm wearing in today's video. I used this brown shade in my crease, then I used this deeper brown right below it in my outer corner, and then I used this sort of rosy gold shade on my lid. So just a really, really simple, quick and easy look, but it worked out really well. And this shade definitely wasn't crumbly like that white one was. I feel like that's one of the only ones that is. So anyway, I just want to quickly show you these next to last year's festival collection so we can see how they compare. So it's funny because even the outer packaging, I feel like they did very similarly. You have like the blue green, like the turquoise one, and then you have the pink one. And then when you look at the inside, I think the more colorful ones, you definitely have a lot of similarity here when it comes to the blues and greens on the left side of the palette. Then when you go over to the right side, I think last year's was a little bit more purple, and this year you do have a couple purples, but it's a little bit more warm toned and a little bit more of the like red orange vibe versus just the straight cool tone purples in last year's palette. And then when it comes to the neutral ones, I feel like this year's is definitely a lot different than last year's. It's way more just neutral and muted. Last year's you had a lot brighter colors, you had warmer colors for sure, you had some oranges and the bright yellow, and like there was a kind of a fuchsia pink in there. So I think this year's is way, way more subtle for sure. And it actually reminded me of another LA Girl palette that I want to show you really quick, and that is the Pro Mastery palette. So these two I think are very, very similar. Again, the Pro Mastery one is a little bit more rosy in tone. You definitely have some of those pinks in there that are just a little bit more prominent, whereas you have a lot more brown in the new one. But there might be enough similarity between these two for you guys to just say, forget about it. I have Pro Mastery. I don't need this other one. That's kind of how I feel, especially when it comes to neutrals, because we probably all have so many palettes that look just like this one in our collection already. So I think if you really love color, the other one might be worth checking out. I just feel like this one, it's not unique enough, and I think Colourpop has a lot of palettes similar to this. Even something like the Maybelline Nudes of New York palette at the drugstore is very similar color story wise to this, so I don't know if this one's necessarily like a must-have for me. But LA Girl did come out with something that for me was very exciting, and these are their soft matte cream blushes. So I got all 3 shades. Unfortunately, this is as big as the shade range gets. They may end up extending it over time, but these are $5.99, super affordable, and they claim to have a creamy gel-like texture that dries down to a soft matte finish, and these can actually be used on both your cheeks and your lips. And they have jojoba seed oil and vitamin E, and they have a really nice needle nose applicator as well. I really like this because it allows you to get a very precise amount out of the tube. You know, like the Glossier cloud paints, how you just unscrew the top and it's like a big hole and everything just sort of gushes out at you. This is very, very easy to control. So I do really love the packaging with these. And let me just go ahead and show you some swatches of what these look like. I honestly couldn't decide between them. I love having both cooler pink toned options and then the warmer shades as well. And application wise, the first time I tried these, I put way too much on my cheeks. I just put a couple dots, but that first cheek that I did, it just was so much product. I had to keep working with it and kind of wiping some away. So a little bit goes a very long way. I recommend just squeezing out the teeniest little bit of the tube and maybe putting it on the back of your hand first and just kind of dab it like this from your hand and then put a little dot on your cheek and blend, and you can always add more if you need to, but it's so hard to take it away once you put that much down. And I just want to quickly show you guys what they all look like on my cheeks since I have tried all of them on over this past week. And I was really impressed with the wear time of these. They don't feel sticky at all. They don't disturb your foundation underneath, which is awesome. And I just love having a really good cream blush at such an affordable price. I feel like the NYX Sweet Cheeks, which are kind of similar in like formula to these, and the Milani Cheek Kiss that are in the tube are like around $9 or $10. And these are $5.99, so you can save a couple bucks and they're just as good in my opinion. I'm actually wearing the Grace shade again today. I've just really been having fun with these. Love them. And then next up we have a new mascara also from LA Girl. This is their Plush Lash mascara and this retails for $6.99. It's currently on sale. I got it for $4 something. I don't know if it's still going to be once you guys see this video, but this claims to have a precise applicator wand for lifted volume to leave your lashes looking full and plush. It also claims to be flake-free and smudge-proof and remove easily with warm water, which to me kind of signals a tubing mascara. That's usually the language that they use when it's a tubing formula. So I was very curious to see how this works compared to the Thrive mascara. I always get a lot of questions and people asking for a dupe for Thrive. So I applied the LA Girl first to my right eye, and I feel like the formula is definitely a little bit drier than the Thrive one, which makes it really easy to comb through your lashes without clumps. It doesn't get goopy, but I also find that I have to apply more coats than I do with the Thrive. The Thrive, I can just like put 1 coat on, maybe 2, and it gives me really big lashes, whereas this, I felt like I kind of had to build it a little bit. Not a big deal, and I was still able to get tons of length, lots of volume, and my lashes looked really nice and separated with no clumps, which I really appreciated. So here's just a quick before and after, and you can see the difference in my lashes, and like I said, I think they have a really nice sort of fanned out look to them. I really like that a lot. So I was impressed with how this went on. And then I decided to apply the Thrive mascara just to my left eye so that we could compare the two together. And while I definitely didn't need to build this one up as much, I think my lashes looked pretty much the same on both sides once I was done. I think they have the same amount of length, the same amount of volume. So I was really impressed with that at least. I think you can get the same look with this one as you can with the Thrive. Now, as far as longevity goes, I have actually worn the Thrive to bed, not with like any other makeup, but I tested it once to see if it would smudge, and I just applied this mascara and that's it, like to a clean face. And I went to sleep. I woke up in the morning and there was nothing around. It doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge, basically stays put until you take it off. This one, on the other hand, not so much. So it said it was a flake-free formula, but I'll show you guys a picture of what it looked like after the end of a long day. This was like 11 o'clock at night. I was seeing a lot of flakes on my cheek. And I know I do have a tendency to sometimes touch my eye, rub my eye, whatever. But this was crazy. And it was like kind of getting in my eyes too. And my eye felt pretty irritated. I do wear contact lenses, and sometimes when mascaras flake, they get like underneath the contact lens, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to take these out immediately. And it sometimes can even give me a headache if the irritation goes on too long. So I definitely try to stay away from mascaras that flake. Now, it did go a pretty good portion of the day without flaking, so I will give it that. But is it as long lasting as the Thrive, which I can wear the entire day and then sleep with it and it still doesn't flake? No, I definitely would not compare the two as far as the longevity. But if you're somebody who doesn't wear your mascara all that long, you might really like this formula. I did find it to be very easy to remove. I mean, it kind of removed itself. Most of it was sitting in my under eye area when I went to wash my face. So really there wasn't too much more to go after that. So I guess you could kind of look at that as a positive. So anyway, moving on, we have new CoverGirl lip balms. And this was actually a request from one of my subscribers, Susan. Hi, Susan. We chat on email sometimes, and we were talking about the old CoverGirl lip slicks. Those were actually my very first makeup purchase that my mom ever allowed me to buy. Anyway, I loved those over the years, but a couple years ago they did discontinue them, and they really haven't had like a tinted lip balm since. So I was very curious to try out this new formula. So these are part of their Clean Fresh line, and they're $6.99 each. And the claims are that they have hyaluronic acid and pomegranate oil, a sheer tint, subtle, natural looking shine, and that your lips look healthier and renewed after 1 week of use. They also don't have a scent to them, which I really, really love. And I would agree with most of the claims. They do have a very subtle, natural shine. They're not super glossy, and they're not frosty like the old lip slicks were, so that's a good thing. They do have a sheer tint to them, and they do moisturize your lips. The colors also showed up a lot better than I was expecting, so I'll show you guys what those looked like on my lips. The peach one I thought was beautiful. I really like the shade a lot. I think it's just subtle and pretty and like great for every day. The pink one was a little bit brighter than I'm used to wearing, but also very pretty. I think it looks brighter in real life than it does on camera though. And then the berry one actually reminds me a lot of Clinique's Black Honey. It could be a dupe potentially. It looks really dark in the tube, but it leaves a sheer berry tint behind, very, very similar to that. So overall, these have a very moisturizing feel. They're not sticky, like they feel really smooth on your lips, but did they completely blow me away? I tend to prefer a thicker, more buttery type of formulation. These just, they felt okay. They were like just a regular standard, like a chapstick or something. And my lips are normally very dry, so I could probably get away with wearing these in the summer if I just wanted like more of a subtle tint, but definitely now this time of year, I don't feel like they would be enough for me. So if you struggle with dryness in your lips or chapped lips, I don't know about these, so just something to keep in mind. Like I said, I think they're an okay product, but they didn't completely blow me away. The next product I just wanted to mention quickly is one that I already talked about in my last speed reviews video, so I'm not going to get into a whole review about it, but I absolutely loved it. It's these Essence Stay 8 Hours lip liners. So in the last video, I talked about the color Just Perfect. This is the only one that I had at the time, and I absolutely loved it. It's the one that I'm wearing on my lips today in the video. It's just the smoothest, creamiest lip liner I have tried in such a long time, and so long lasting. It lasted through drinks, a meal. It's really amazing. I just put down a little lip balm and then line my lips and fill them in with this, and I'm good to go. So I know I mentioned in that video that I was going to buy more colors, and I did. So I just wanted to quickly show you guys some swatches and what the other colors look like. So I'll put the swatches up on the screen really quick, but I also do have some lip swatches to show you, so I'll show you those after that. So you've already seen Just Perfect on me in the video, but I'll show you the next shade, which is Curious. And this one is just a really beautiful warm pink. It's not overly cool toned. I think it's like a Your Lips But Better color. It's perfect. And then the other shade that I have is Unforgettable, and this one is more of a peachy pink and equally as pretty. I really like this one too. I feel like all three of these colors are very easy to wear, more of like a Your Lips But Better kind of color, which is what I normally go for, but they do have brighter colors and deeper colors as well. So definitely something to check out before these sell out, because I feel like once TikTok gets a hold of them, they definitely will. Next up, I have two products from Winky Lux. So these aren't really drugstore. They're not super high end either, like Hourglass. I feel like they're somewhere in between, kind of like Pixie Beauty. And they have the new Cheeky Rose highlighters. So if you guys have been around on my channel for a while, you know that I discovered the Cheeky Rose blushes over the summer and fell in love with those. They're amazing. So when I saw that they came out with a highlighter version, I had to have it. So this is a cream formula. It's $20 and the packaging is just stunning. I mean, it's like a rose underneath the little dome. It kind of reminds me like of Beauty and the Beast a little bit. And this claims to just melt into the skin and blend out seamlessly, giving you a pearlescent, dewy radiance. And I think this is a gorgeous color and it does feel very lightweight. It's not sticky in the slightest bit and it gives you a beautiful glow. Now it is a little bit of a stiffer formula. So if you try to use this with a brush, which I'll show you guys a clip of me trying that first, it doesn't really work out so well. It barely showed up on my cheeks at all when I used the brush. Maybe if you had a stiffer brush it would work, but I tried using more of like a fluffy highlighter brush and yeah, no, it just didn't happen. But then I applied it with my fingers next and I had way better luck with that. It picks up easily with your finger and I just kind of tapped it out on my cheeks and it blends out seamlessly. And I love how this isn't like glittery or sparkly. It's just a beautiful pearlescent glow, like they said. So if you're somebody who doesn't like the glitter, but you still want a highlighter that's really going to show up and look nice on your cheeks, I think this is an amazing one. I just realized I didn't even put it on for the video. So let's fix that. Yeah, it's just so stunning. And you honestly can't beat the packaging either. So that's that one. And then I also got one more thing from Winky Lux. I really haven't tried much from their brand, so I wanted to pick up something else. And this also was new. So this is a lip product and it's their Sorbet Balm. This is $18 and it's described as a tricolor balm with a pink tint. I just thought this looked so cute and very summery, and it's enriched with jojoba oil and vitamin E and has a pink coconut flavor. When you first swatch it, you can actually see the individual colors in the swatch, but when you're actually putting it on your lips, it just kind of all melts together, especially if you rub your lips together, which I think most of us do when we're putting on a lip product. So it's not going to look weird or stripy unless of course you want it to. You probably could do that if you tried, but when it comes to this balm, I do love coconut scents and flavors, so that didn't bother me at all. I think what I didn't like about this was just the color. I felt like it is just a really bright pink. It kind of reminds me of those balms that like have the pH adjusting stuff in it and it makes you look like you have hot pink lips. Again, I don't think it shows up quite as bright on camera as it looked in real life. I was kind of like not too thrilled with that. And then also, I think kind of like the CoverGirl balms, it didn't feel super hydrating to me. For me, having really dry lips, I just tend to seek out products that are a little bit more buttery and thick and rich. So this really just gives you a light layer of hydration. It's nothing like over the top. So anyway, guys, that is everything that I have for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'd love to hear from you guys, like what products that I've talked about today have you had your eye on? Have you been thinking about trying any of these, or did my video change your mind? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, thank you so much for clicking on this video and spending time here with me. I appreciate it so much. Also, if you watched to the end, thank you so much. That actually really helps out my channel a lot in the algorithm. YouTube always wants people to spend as much time watching videos as possible. So every time somebody gets to the end, it kind of gives my channel a boost and YouTube decides to share this video a little bit more. So I'd love to hear how many of you guys are still here. So leave a blue heart emoji down in the comments and then I'll know which one of you guys actually made it this far or not. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.